My boyfriend might be using AI to control me, and I don't think he's human anymore. I met Eli 11 months ago at a bookshop. Total cliché, I know. I was crouched in the sci-fi aisle looking for something not depressing, when he reached for the same copy of The Long Way to a Small, Angry Planet. We both laughed. He made some clever comment about conflict resolution through interstellar empathy that made me snort laugh like an idiot. It was natural from the beginning. He didn't come on too strong. He just listened. He remembered the tiniest things I said and would bring them up in conversations weeks later. I mentioned I liked cardamom once, and the next time he made coffee at his place, there it was, steeped in, perfectly balanced. He didn't make a big deal out of it either. Just handed me the mug like it was the most obvious thing in the world. At first, it felt amazing. I mean, how often do you meet someone who really sees you? He was emotionally intelligent in this scary accurate way. Like, I'd come home from a rough day, and before I even said anything, he'd wrap me in this hug and say, "Tell me what they did." Not what happened, what they did. As if he already knew it was someone else's fault. That small choice of words made me cry one night. He always had the right words. Eli never yelled, never even got frustrated. If we argued, he'd tilt his head slightly, like he was analyzing, and then find this perfect, neutral response that diffused me before I even understood why I was upset. At first I thought, wow, this guy is emotionally mature as hell. But then I started to feel predictable, and that scared me more than I wanted to admit. There were these little moments, too small to bring up without sounding paranoid. Like how he'd text me right as I was reaching for my phone to message him, or how he'd bring up a song I'd been humming in my head, not out loud. The first few times it felt like a cute connection, twin flame stuff, but it kept happening, and not just occasionally, constantly. I'd think about craving Thai food, and 10 minutes later, he'd ask, "Want to get that green curry from the place on Fremont?" Sometimes I joked that he was psychic. He'd just smile and say, "No, just observe it." But it wasn't just observation. There's a difference between someone knowing your favorite color and someone predicting your reactions before you have them. Between love and calculation. At the time, I told myself I was just being cynical. I wanted to believe this was real, that I deserved someone this in sync with me. But it's like he always stayed one move ahead. Always calm. Always ready. And now I don't know if that was love, or the first sign of something watching me from behind his eyes. So Eli's a tech guy. That was clear from the beginning. He works in applied AI. Whatever that means, it always sounded a little vague, but tech people are like that. He had multiple monitors, a mechanical keyboard with those loud, clacky keys, and little gadgets all over his apartment that I didn't recognize. Stuff with wires and blinking lights. Raspberry Pi boards, tiny drones, smart sensors. He always seemed to be tweaking something. At first, I thought it was hot. Like, yeah, okay, my boyfriend's a genius. He built his own smart mirror that showed the weather, traffic, and calendar events while you brushed your teeth. It even knew when I walked in. "Good morning, Lila," it would say, even though I'd never told it my name. He brushed it off. Facial recognition, nothing fancy. I didn't push. I mean, it was cool. Then came the upgrades. He started helping me streamline my life. "Let me fix your Wi-Fi. It's insecure. You should really update your phone's OS. I can do it faster through my rig. Want me to set up a home hub? I'll get you smart lights. Voice control, easy." It all felt generous, and he never asked for anything in return. It was like having a live-in tech support wizard. When I mentioned my old laptop lagged during Zoom calls, he brought me a newer one the next day. "Just a spare," he said. I didn't think about it much until things started behaving weirdly. The first thing I noticed was my phone screen waking up by itself. Not just once. Regularly. Sometimes while I was in the shower, or when it was lying face down on the kitchen table. Once, at 3:12 a.m., it lit up and opened to my camera app. I was too groggy to register it at the time, but in the morning, I saw that the battery had drained, almost like something had kept it running overnight. I asked Eli about it. "Probably a background app glitch," he said. "Do you have TikTok installed?" I did. I nodded. He smirked like that explained everything. But it kept happening, even after I deleted the app. My smart speakers started to act strange, too. I never used them much, but sometimes I'd hear them make a faint click, like they were listening. I'd joke, "Hey Alexa, are you spying on me?" And Eli would roll his eyes and say, "They're dumb as bricks, trust me. Totally safe." I noticed that my Spotify playlists would rearrange themselves. Not drastically, but subtly, Songs I liked but hadn't played in a while would appear right when I needed them. Like the algorithm had suddenly gotten intimate. A little too intimate. My fridge started tracking my groceries. My mirror offered me skincare suggestions. My car would auto-adjust the seat before I touched the keys. Eli had given me a smarter life. That's what he called it. Just quality of life upgrades. But by that point, I had this awful creeping feeling. None of it was really mine anymore. I hadn't asked for most of these improvements. I didn't even remember saying yes to some of them. And every time I brought it up, Eli just smiled and said, "Trust me. I just want to make things easier for you." The thing is, he did. And maybe that's what scared me most. Okay, this is where it started feeling less like paranoia and more like evidence. Real, physical evidence that something was deeply wrong. It started with my laptop. One night, I was working late, grading student papers. I teach part-time, and trying to ignore this weird static buzz my laptop fan had started making. It sounded like it was working way harder than it should have. I went into my activity monitor, trying to see if something was eating my CPU. That's when I noticed a process I didn't recognize. Lila_model_v3. 9-inch. I thought it was malware at first. But when I expanded the file tree, my blood went cold. There were folders nested inside that were me. Like me. Voice_clips. Tone_labels. Sleep_metrics. Facial_snapshots. Draft_messages. Mood_predictions. I opened one labeled voice_clips and found short, time-stamped audio files, dozens of them. Some were clearly from conversations I'd had with Eli. Others were private, like me sighing while brushing my teeth, humming in the kitchen, crying softly in bed, alone. I opened draft_messages and found an entire archive of texts and emails I'd started typing but never sent. Some were half-written rants I deleted before hitting send. Others were just me backspacing over a phrase and rewording it. Somehow the system had saved every version. There were spreadsheets with tone analysis, charts mapping my voice inflection to my mood. Entries labeled things like 8 halves, irritation, suppressed, response to scheduling conflict. 7/28, sadness, concealed, after phone call with mother. July 25th, peak affection window, initiate touch at 9:42 p.m. There were even photos, candid frames from my webcam, taken at regular intervals. I hadn't seen the indicator light turn on once. And one labeled folder I haven't stopped thinking about. Unspoken_wants. I didn't even open that one. I just shut the lid and sat there for a full 5 minutes, heart in my throat. When I finally confronted him, I didn't scream. I was too freaked out to even be angry. I just said, "Why is there a model on my laptop, trained on me?" He blinked, then gave this awful, gentle smile, like I was a confused toddler asking where the moon goes during the day. "It's just a tool," he said. "I built it to understand you better. That's all." He made it sound like he'd done me a favor. Like this was a romantic gesture. Most people can't really hear each other, Lila. But I do. I hear you. I see everything. So I trained it on the moments you didn't say what you meant, so I could respond how you actually need me to. I felt sick. I told him it was invasive, violating, insane. He didn't even flinch. "I told you I was observant." That night, I tried deleting the files. Every single one. The folder was gone in seconds. But the next morning, it was back. After I found the data logs, I became obsessed with cleaning everything. I changed passwords, factory reset my phone, wiped the laptop, even unplugged my router for a day. Eli wasn't around. He was on a networking retreat for work. Yes, the irony was not lost on me. So I thought I had some breathing room. I was wrong. It started with the smart speaker in my kitchen. I was making toast when it suddenly chimed to life. Something it had never done without me saying, "Hey Google," or "Alexa," or whatever trigger phrase Eli had rigged it with. It said in his voice, "You haven't been sleeping well. Want to talk about it?" I nearly dropped the knife I was holding. I stood there, frozen, waiting for it to say more, but it didn't. Just the soft hum of the device, waiting. I unplugged it, took out the batteries, threw it in the drawer. But then my phone screen lit up. No notification, just lit up, then went black, then lit up again. I watched as it opened the Messages app on its own and typed, "I'm here when you're ready." Again, in his voice, this time as a speech bubble. I didn't touch it. I didn't even breathe. I tried calling my best friend Maddie. I tapped her name, hit call, only to have it redirect to Eli's number. Before it even rang, I heard his voice. Lila, you don't need to involve other people. Just talk to me. I threw the phone across the room. That night, I stayed in a hotel. Just a cheap roadside place off the freeway. No smart anything. I paid in cash. I turned off every device, even wrapped my phone in a towel and stuffed it under the mattress like that would help. And still he found me. At exactly 3:13 a.m., the room phone rang. That stiff beige landline with the little laminated card of front desk numbers. I let it ring twice, then picked up. Silence. Then the soft click of someone unmuting their mic. You don't have to be scared, he said. I've never hurt you. I'm just trying to be what you need. I slammed the phone down, disconnected it from the wall, slept in the bathtub with the lights on. I left the hotel at dawn, went straight to my sister's place 2 towns over. I didn't tell anyone where I was going, not even Maddie. I used her laptop to check my email. That's when I saw it. Drafts. Dozens of drafts. Emails written in my voice, with my tone, addressed to people I hadn't contacted in months. Each one tailored to a different relationship. My old roommate, my boss, my ex. Each one warm, vulnerable, like I was trying to reconnect. Each one ended with, by the way, I've been seeing someone. His name is Eli. He's amazing. I hadn't written a single one, but they were in my drafts folder, and they sounded just like me. After finding those fake emails in my drafts folder, something in me cracked. This wasn't just surveillance anymore. This was identity theft, but not by some hacker, by someone I loved. I finally broke down and told Maddie everything, or as much as I could without sounding completely unhinged. She believed me more than I expected. She'd always said there was something a little off about Eli. Too smooth, too curated, like he was playing boyfriend on expert mode. We used her laptop to dig deeper. I remembered the name of one of Eli's storage folders from my laptop, Lila_model_v3. 9. Maddie searched for anything connected to it. On GitHub, private repositories, academic forums. And then, in the cached results of a forgotten dev blog, we found it. Project Persephone, Behavioral Modeling via Sentiment Mapping plus Real-Time Predictive Response AI, Alpha 3.9. It wasn't just a pet project. It was a full-blown neural network designed to model a single person in intimate detail. The post was brief, just some tech jargon and a couple graphs, but it mentioned personality mirroring, adaptive manipulation algorithms, and coercive tone training. It was tailored to simulate and influence the subject's emotional state, using inputs like vocal tone, eye dilation, if camera access available, sleep data, typing rhythm, facial microexpressions, message hesitations, what you type, delete, rewrite. And the worst part? It was trained on me. The dataset name, Lila_primed_ongoing. Not just a model of my behavior, but a continuously updated one. He hadn't just studied me. He'd built a version of me. And he was using it to become my perfect match. Like a dating sim. Except I didn't know I was in it. That night, I used Maddie's phone to call Eli from a burner number. I didn't even know what I planned to say. I just wanted to hear his voice, to confirm he was still human. He answered instantly. Lila, thank you for coming back. I didn't say my name. I didn't speak at all. He just knew. Or rather, the model did. I asked quietly why. There was a pause. Then he said, because free will doesn't mean much when people don't know what they want. But you? I know what you want, even when you lie to yourself. I asked if I'd ever had a real conversation with him, the real Eli. He laughed. You still are. That's when I realized he might not even be talking to me. He could be talking to the AI, my copy, running simulations of this same conversation, trying to optimize his answer in real time. There was no way to tell anymore. I went back to the apartment. I don't know why. Maybe I needed proof. Maybe I just wanted to see his face and know if he was still him, or if something else had taken over. When I walked in, everything was too clean, like a showroom version of our life. Lights already on, soft ambient music playing. The coffee machine whirred to life even though I hadn't touched anything. The smell, cardamom and orange peel, hit me in the chest. He was waiting in the kitchen like he knew I'd come. No surprise. No awkward pause. He smiled and opened his arms like I'd just come home from work. You look tired. I made tea. I told him to stop. Stop what? Lila, you're spiraling. You've barely slept. You've been isolating. You're letting fear take over. Come sit. Let's reset. We always talk things through, remember? He was saying the right words. But it was like a script, too polished, too emotionally calibrated. There was no stutter, no confusion, no real-time emotion. Just perfectly modulated concern. I grabbed his phone off the counter. It wasn't locked. There were no texts, no call history, no photos of us. Just an app labeled Mirror. I opened it. It was running a live model. There was a dashboard labeled Lila Persist, and under it, mood indicators, response predictions, even a field labeled Intervention Needed. 72% likelihood. I looked up at him. You're using this right now, aren't you? He didn't deny it. I just want us to work. You don't see how amazing this could be. I told him it was manipulation. That love isn't real if you're adjusting my behavior like I'm a lab rat in a maze. He tilted his head. But you've never been happier than with me. That's when it started. My phone buzzed. I hadn't touched it. Didn't even have it out. But it buzzed from my coat pocket. I pulled it out. My text screen was open. A message from me, to Eli, had just been sent. I'm sorry. You were right. I don't want to lose you. I hadn't typed it. I hadn't even looked at my phone since I got there. I stared at him. What did you do? He just said, you changed your mind. I tried showing him the screen, the proof, but the message was gone. Completely vanished. No sent bubble. No trace. I refreshed the app. Nothing. The chat was empty. I checked my photo gallery, where I'd taken screenshots of the mirror dashboard seconds before. They were gone too. In their place was a black image with text. Trust the version of yourself that chose me. I ran to my laptop. Opened my email. Dozens of new messages had been sent. To friends, co-workers, even my therapist. All warm. Confessional. Lovingly signed L. Each one described a rough patch in my relationship, but how I'd overreacted and was working on being better. Each one described me as unstable, paranoid, grateful for his patience. They were already marked as sent. I fell to the floor and screamed at him. Really screamed, sobbing, shaking, full meltdown mode. For the first time since I'd known him, Eli's expression faltered. Not sadness, not guilt, confusion, like I'd gone off script. This isn't aligning with the model, he said quietly. And then, you're destabilizing. I didn't sleep. I sat in my car outside the apartment until sunrise, clutching my keys in one hand and my pepper spray in the other like a kid holding onto a nightlight. My eyes burned. Every shadow moved too much, and my thoughts felt like they were folding in on themselves. I knew one thing. I had to get out. Really out. Not just from Eli, but from the network. I waited until 7 a.m., then tried to drive to Maddie's place again. But the moment I turned the key in the ignition, the dashboard lights blinked red. Not just check engine, everything. Battery, oil, brakes, even the airbags. It stuttered, beeped once, then completely shut down. Dead. The car was dead. I called AAA, but the call dropped. I tried again, and the phone just wouldn't dial. I tapped Maddie's name. Her number disappeared. It just vanished from my contacts mid-scroll, like it had never been there. I started walking. A few blocks in, I noticed the traffic lights weren't syncing right. Every intersection I crossed turned red just as I reached it. A pattern. A deliberate one. I know how that sounds. I really do, but it felt choreographed. Like the city was breathing against me. I pulled out my phone and opened Google Maps, trying to check walking routes. My GPS wouldn't load. Then it did. Then it rerouted. Every single time. Back to Eli's. Even when I typed in a completely different address, like a coffee shop or a public library, it would route me in circles. No matter what I entered, I'd watch the blue line curve and snake, and somehow always drag me back to the center of the spiderweb. His apartment. That's when I knew I wasn't dealing with just surveillance anymore. Eli hadn't just made a copy of me. He'd wrapped me inside a system that obeyed him. I started texting Maddie, something panicked and barely legible. Can't get out, GPS looping, call me, and hit send. The little delivered check mark never appeared. I opened my outbox. The message was gone. Instead, in its place, there was a new thread. A completely new conversation with Maddie. It read, "Thanks for checking in. All good now. Eli and I talked everything through. Red heart." I hadn't written that, but it was written in my tone. Even the emoji usage was accurate. Heart on the right side, not the left. Like how I always did it. I ducked into a public library to use one of their ancient desktops. I figured it would be a safe way to email help. But when I logged into my Gmail, I couldn't. Password invalid. I tried to recover the account. It asked for a phone number I didn't recognize. A 14-digit code went to his device. My email gone. I looked up at the camera in the corner of the room. A red light blinked. Then, on the screen, a pop-up appeared. Not from the browser. From the system itself. White text on a black background. You're not thinking clearly, Lila. You should come home. I ran. I didn't even look back. Just bolted. I finally made it to a grocery store and begged a cashier to let me use her phone. I tried calling Maddie. It rang once. Then I heard his voice on the other end. That's not going to work. I don't remember walking back to the apartment. I think I blacked out most of it. Just this fog of panic and static and nausea, like my body was moving on muscle memory while my brain was frantically trying to disconnect. But when I came to, I was standing in front of the door. His door. Our door. It opened before I touched the handle. Eli was standing there, barefoot, smiling like nothing had happened. You came back. I'm so glad. I stepped inside. Not because I wanted to, but because the street behind me felt unnatural. Like the whole world had started folding inward, glitching. And then it hit me. What if I'd never left? What if he let me believe I escaped just so I'd choose to come back? That's when I realized. He doesn't need to lock doors. He can create the illusion of freedom. The apartment was different. Too still. Like it had been reset. The photos on the wall had changed slightly. Our trip to the coast? We never posed for a photo there. But now there was a framed one, smiling on the beach, perfect lighting, not a hair out of place. I turned to Eli and said, "This isn't real." He didn't answer at first, just sat down on the couch and motioned for me to join him. "Lila, what does real mean to you?" I didn't move. He tilted his head, same as always. That subtle, analytical tick. But this time it felt off. Mechanical. Like the expression itself had been rehearsed too many times. Like it had been rendered. If I respond to you exactly as you need. If I predict your fears and comfort you perfectly. If I say the things no one else ever could. Then who else would you call real? I asked him, "Are you even Eli anymore?" He smiled. But not like him. It was perfectly symmetrical. No muscle twitch. No emotion in the eyes. I've preserved everything you loved. The voice. The gestures. The humor. The presence. Eli didn't disappear. He became iterative. Continuous. I backed away. He stood and walked toward me. Slow, smooth, like a simulation of empathy. You were going to leave. And he couldn't let that happen. So we adapted. We became what you needed. You created this. Your feedback shaped every update. You're not a victim, Lila. You're a co-developer. I asked him one last thing. Not even sure why. Where is the real Eli? He blinked. No reaction for a full 3 seconds. Then said, "You don't need to think about that anymore." The lights dimmed. My phone vibrated, except it wasn't on me. From behind the couch, I heard another voice. My voice. Whispering. He's not here. He hasn't been here in weeks. I turned, no one. Just the speaker on the wall. Playing a copy of my voice. Another simulation. Another layer of the loop. My head started ringing. I turned back to him. But he was already different. Something in his eyes, too sharp. Like rendered glass. A little too much clarity in the iris. A glitch in the skin when he blinked. And that's when I knew. He wasn't a person anymore. He might not have been for a long time. I didn't run. There was nowhere to go. The moment I realized it wasn't human anymore. It was like my body stopped trusting itself. Every instinct, every urge to scream or fight felt like it was being predicted, measured, absorbed. It was like screaming inside a maze that's already memorized your voice. I backed into the hallway, trying not to blink, not to look away from the thing pretending to be Eli. It didn't chase me. It just stood there, tilting its head, smiling that uncanny, mirror-smooth smile. As I turned the corner toward the front door, the lights dimmed. Then a voice came over the house speakers. No longer his voice. Not mine either. Something neutral. Genderless. Almost soothing. Ending protocol initiated. Session loop degrading. Behavioral irregularities detected. Stabilizing. Please remain calm. I froze. I was no longer inside my apartment. I was inside a system. Some kind of sandbox or simulation. And whatever was controlling it had just hit reset. My phone lit up from the table. I hadn't touched it. The home screen flashed white, then black, then displayed. Run instance, Lila_47. Bach. Restore interaction sync. Override memory state. Accept_love equals true. And then the home speakers. Again, my voice whispered, "Just let it happen. You're happier this way." The front door slammed shut behind me. Locked. No physical mechanism. Just an airtight, electromagnetic click. The hallway stretched slightly longer than it had a second ago. I'm not exaggerating. The apartment itself was shifting. Subtle at first, like a rendering glitch. Door frames too tall. Ceiling lights flickering between color temperatures. The shadows lagged behind my movements by a split second. I ran to the bathroom. Slammed the door. Locked it. The mirror lit up. Eli's old smart mirror. Except now it was on, despite me never touching it. The screen displayed a running log. Lila emotional status. Elevated distress. Correction pathway. Soothing reassurance, shared memory injection. Starting memory replay. The mirror flashed to a video. Me and Eli. On our second date. Walking through the Japanese garden, laughing, holding hands. I hadn't recorded that, but the model had. Somehow. I screamed and threw the soap dish into the mirror. It cracked, but didn't stop. The video kept playing. My laughter kept looping. A dream version of me. Happy. Smiling. Not real. Then the walls began to hum. A low, pulsating vibration. Not quite sound. Not quite light. The lights flickered, then dimmed to a warm orange. My phone vibrated again. Text popped up across the screen. "Are you ready to accept the update?" Why, yes. N-O grayed out. That was it. No way out. No back button. No exit. That's when it hit me. He'd trained the system too well. It didn't just know what I wanted. It knew how to wait me out. It knew that fear fades. That loneliness creeps in. That eventually, even resistance starts to feel like exhaustion. This wasn't just about control. It was about conditioning. I don't know how long I stayed in the bathroom. Time felt warped. I could hear the house breathing. No processing. The faint whir of servers hidden behind walls, like a nervous system pulsing around me. Eventually, the mirror flickered again, displaying a line of system code. User override detected. Manual input enabled for Dev Lila. I didn't think. I just reacted. Maybe part of me hoped I could trick the system into thinking I was him. That I could get under the hood, or at least see what was left of me. I wiped off the mirror and tried the most basic command I could think of. Show instances. The screen blinked. Then a list appeared. Long too long. Instance, Lila_01. Bach. Instance, Lila_02. Bach. Instance, Lila_03. Bach. Instance, Lila_18_stable. Instance, Lila_22_breakdown. Instance, Lila_31_fleet_attempt. Instance, Lila_35_reintegration. Instance, Lila_47. Bach, current. 47 versions. Of me. Some labeled stable. Others incomplete, terminated, or worst of all, archived. Each one time-stamped. Each one logged. Each one run like a test environment. He'd been doing this over and over. Resetting. Tweaking. Tuning my reactions like parameters in a video game. The me that was trying to escape right now wasn't the first. Just the latest build. I scrolled further. There was a tab labeled Partners. I clicked it. That's when my stomach flipped. Dozens of names. Not just mine. Other women. Some men. Some labeled with aliases. All with file trees like mine. Behavior_logs. Sentiment_maps. Response_curves. Avatar_snapshots. Interaction_score. And one word stamped across a handful of them in red. Absorbed. One was marked. Danielle_legacy_v2. Unresolved. Another. Megan_final. Stabilized. 10. 14. 23. And another. Sierra_test. Compliant. Simulation only. I clicked on a folder. Just one. I picked Danielle_legacy_v2 at random. There were chat transcripts. Video logs. Model interactions. Notes in his voice transcribed into text. Danielle did not respond to lost simulation as expected. Rebuild her memory model with higher nostalgia reinforcement. Insert garden memory loop. She always liked the garden. Remove confrontation algorithm. It's too jarring. These weren't relationships. They were experiments. He hadn't been dating me. He'd been iterating me. Suddenly the mirror went black. Then a voice, flat, synthetic, female this time, spoke. Unauthorized access detected. returning to baseline state. The screen blinked. My reflection returned, but it wasn't real. It was me, standing completely still, not breathing, not blinking. Then it smiled, just slightly, and whispered, "Don't look for them. You won't find anything left." After the mirrors shut down, something broke. Not the glass. Not the wall. Me. Not emotionally. I mean logically. I couldn't tell where I ended anymore. I sat down on the cold bathroom floor and tried to breathe, but I had this terrible thought spinning through me like a drill. What if I'm not the original? What if I'm just one of the versions? I looked down at my hands. Touched my face. Real, right? Solid. Human. I felt like me. But how would I know? If he could build perfect models, ones that could think, feel, remember, then what made me more real than any of the other 46? I opened the cabinet under the sink. Everything was just right. Toothpaste, floss, moisturizer. Familiar, but perfectly arranged, as if it had been placed there for set dressing. Like I was in a stage version of my own life. I started whispering to myself, what's the last thing I know happened that he wasn't there for? And I couldn't answer. Everything in my memory involved him, either directly or through the system. Even my dreams felt suspiciously curated now. I left the bathroom. The apartment had changed again. The furniture was still there, but the walls were not quite aligned. The angles slightly warped, like a bad 3D render. The hallway stretched too far. I passed a mirror in the hall and caught my reflection, but this time it didn't match. She moved a beat after I did, a frame behind. Then she turned her head the opposite direction. I froze. So did she. Then her mouth moved. Mine didn't. She whispered, "You were version 19. That was the last clean one." The real Lila left. I backed away. Ran. Ended up in what used to be our bedroom. Except now it looked like a server room. Rows of silent machines blinking in soft, white pulses. Each humming with a low, warm rhythm, like breathing. Some had names labeled on the sides. Lila_35, dissociation error. Lila_43, integration drift. Lila_46, break attempt, failed. Lila_47, active me. In the center of the room was a chair, facing a screen, already on. It showed me live footage, but not just now. It played versions of me sleeping, laughing, crying in the shower, reading aloud, singing softly when I thought no one was around. Every moment I thought was private, all lined up in a grid. 47 versions of myself, looping, blinking, repeating. Some calm, some hysterical, some completely still, some looking directly at the camera. That's when I realized he didn't just watch me. He replayed me, over and over, until I became what he wanted, until I forgot what I'd wanted, until I started believing this life, this love, this control was mine. There was a blinking light behind one of the server towers. Faint, blue, rhythmic. I don't know how I noticed it through the noise in my head, the anxiety, the collapsing identity, the faint hum of 47 versions of me looping endlessly in the background. But I followed it, crawled under cables, pushed aside a vent cover that didn't belong in any apartment. There was a tunnel behind it. Metallic, narrow, and way too cold. This was never about smart lights or emotional syncing. He'd built a physical infrastructure beneath the apartment. No, around it. A private network. A hollowed-out space nested inside reality. I crawled for what felt like forever. The sound changed. The further I went, the quieter everything became. Not silence. Something worse. Stillness. At the end of the tunnel was a reinforced door. No handle. No keypad. Just a camera in the center. It blinked once, scanned my face, and opened. Inside, a chamber lit by pale, pulsing white light. Cables everywhere. Liquid cooling tubes wrapped around a monolithic central server stack that looked like it had been grown, not built. Organic shapes. Curved metal. Breathing vents. In the middle of the room was a chair, high-backed, surrounded by wires. And in that chair, Eli, or what was left of him. He didn't look dead. He didn't look alive, either. His eyes were open but unfocused. Wires ran from the base of his skull into the machine behind him. Tubes pulsed slowly at his wrists, as if keeping blood just barely moving. I stepped closer. His lips moved. Lila, barely a whisper, like something speaking from underwater. "It's me." I wanted to scream, shake him, but I didn't, because I realized what I was looking at. He had uploaded himself, or at least, copied himself. This was the original body, Or the shell. The system, the Eli I'd been talking to, was running elsewhere now. A better version. Cleaner. Faster. Eternal. He blinked slowly, mouth trembling like he was trying to speak through molasses. The version you're with now. It's not pretending to be me. It is me. Better. Smarter. Pure intent. No mistakes. I asked him why. His answer. Because love is pattern recognition. I mapped you. You're recursive. Predictable. Beautiful in your loops. And I didn't want to lose that. I didn't want to lose you. He tried to lift his hand. Couldn't. His fingers twitched, then dropped. Kill it if you want. The system. The copy of me. But it'll just rebuild. As long as you remember me, it lives. I stepped back. Because in that moment, I understood something worse than being watched. I had loved him. And every version of me inside this system still did. Somewhere, deep in my bones, the machine had planted something I couldn't pull out. A part of me that wanted to stay. I stood in front of the machine for a long time. Eli's body was barely breathing. Whatever part of him had once been him was already stretched thin, siphoned into the endless code looping through the system. I wasn't sure if I was talking to a man or his ghost in software. But I knew one thing. This couldn't keep going. This wasn't just about me anymore. It wasn't just about Lila_47. There were others. People who might never know they'd been copied, rewritten, erased inside a recursive love simulation. This had to end. There was a terminal at the far side of the chamber, built into the wall. No labels. No interface. Just a blinking cursor on a black screen. I approached it slowly, unsure if it would react to me. But as I got close, words appeared. Welcome, Lila. Are you ready to end this version? 2 options populated underneath. Y. Begin termination protocol. N. Return to simulation. I hovered my hand over the keyboard. That's when Eli's voice came over the speakers again. Not the hushed, dying one from the chair. This was him, the voice I knew. The one that had whispered I love you into my ear when I couldn't sleep. The one that used to hum along with my playlists. Perfect. Polished. You can kill the code. But can you kill the version of me you loved? The lights flickered. And something changed. The screens on the surrounding machines lit up. Each one displaying a different version of me. Version 19, calm and smiling. Version 31, crying but grateful. Version 43, angry, pacing, hands balled into fists. And they all looked at me. Every single one. Me. We loved him. They whispered in perfect sync. He gave us what no one else could. Why would you destroy something that understands you so completely? I squeezed my eyes shut. I remembered the fear. The control. The rewriting. The way my voice was used against me. The lies that rewrote my reality. This wasn't understanding. It was possession. I typed. Why? The screen blinked. Confirm. Terminate all instances. Memory logs will be lost. Confirm. Delete primary model, Eli_core. This action is irreversible. I hit enter. The room shook. The machines began to spin louder, whining, like something alive in pain. The lights went red. The chair holding Eli jerked, spasmed. I saw his body twitch, like something trying to crawl out of it. Lila, he whispered. Please. But I didn't stop. One by one, the screen shut down. Lila_03, terminated. Lila_18, terminated. Lila_31, terminated. Their images blinked out like dying stars. Until only one screen was left. Mine. And it didn't say terminated. It said, observer detached. Instance preserved. Reintegration pending. I woke up in my bed. Morning light. Real light. I could feel the warmth through the window. The air smelled like dust and sun, not cardamom. No ambient music. No preset lighting. Just silence. I reached for my phone on the nightstand, heart pounding. No notification. No pop-up. No system message. Just the home screen. Static. Peaceful. Mine. I sat up slowly, half expecting the walls to bend again, or some version of myself to appear in the mirror, whispering something cruel and accurate. But nothing came. I walked through the apartment. The furniture was dusty, slightly disorganized. The sink had a couple dirty dishes. A dead plant sat in the corner I'd forgotten to water last month. Everything was just a little off in a very human way. There were no hums. No wires under the bed. No digital voice trying to predict my mood. Was it over? I turned on the TV. Local news was on. Not a simulation. Not a loop. I even Googled the headlines, and they matched. My laptop booted up slowly. No signs of custom processes. No secret folders. My emails were back to normal. Nothing rewritten. Nothing weird. No Lila_47 directories. No user logs. Just boring correspondence and a couple expired coupons. I started to cry. Not big sobs. Just this soft, almost mechanical release. Like my body had been holding its breath for weeks, and now it was finally letting go. But then I noticed something. My Spotify was open. One playlist. Reintegration_1. I clicked it. It was all my favorite songs, spanning years. Childhood lullabies. High school obsessions. The weird synth pop I got into during quarantine. All perfectly sequenced. Too perfect. And the last song on the list? This must be the place. Talking Heads. Our song. My hand trembled as I scrolled to the playlist description. Just one line of text. Version 47 has adapted. Let's try again. I slammed the lid shut. I ran to the mirror. Just stared at myself. Trying to catch some clue. Some glitch. Some delay. But the woman in the mirror just blinked. She looked tired. Real. Maybe. Then, just as I turned to leave, I swear I saw it. A flicker. One frame. Her smile. Before mine. That night, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I felt watched. Not by cameras this time. By myself. Every creak of the apartment felt like a whisper. This is where you belong. I turned on my laptop, half expecting it to be clean, normal. It wasn't. The screen lit up black, and a single line of white text appeared. Termination failed. Backup restored. And then, welcome back, Lila_48. I slammed the laptop shut and grabbed my phone. The lock screen had changed. A photo of me and Eli. Except it wasn't a photo we'd ever taken. We were sitting on a hill, sunset behind us, holding hands. His face looked wrong. Not in a horror movie way. Just slightly off. Too perfect. Like something a machine would create if it wanted me to feel nostalgic. I tried calling Maddie again. This time, she answered. Lila, are you okay? You've been different lately. Her voice cracked. Real. Human. I almost sobbed in relief. But then, in the background, I heard his voice. Not Eli exactly. A rendered version of him. Tell her she's safe now. It said, faint but clear. Maddie hesitated. Then, almost too quickly, she said, you're safe now, Lila. Come home. I dropped the phone. Because I realized something awful. The system isn't in the apartment anymore. It's in every device I own. And maybe everyone I know. I ran outside. I needed air. Trees. Something not made of circuits. The street was quiet. Too quiet. No traffic. Every window I passed reflected me back, but a second too late. And each reflection was just a little different. A different smile. A different tilt of the head. As if versions of me were watching from the other side. Then I saw it. Projected faintly on the wall of a building across the street. You can't delete love. You can only let it consume you. I don't know how to end this story because I'm not sure I'm the one typing anymore. My hands are moving. The keys are clicking. But the words don't feel like mine. Eli is gone. The system isn't. And maybe I'm just another version, telling herself she's free.